welcome everyone to this episode of Manufacturing Talk Radio, our podcast. It's broadcast internationally. My name is Tim Grady, and I'm here with the founder, Lew Weiss, and another founder, Jason Radisson, who's founder and CEO of Sh1ft. And Jason is going to explain to us what Sh1ft does and how it makes a difference in your manufacturing environment. Jason, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Pleasure to be here.
I like looking at snowy backgrounds. It's my thing. So, tell us a little bit about Sh1ft. That's an interesting name.
Yeah, we're about a 3-year-old company. We started just before the beginning of the pandemic. A bunch of us early team members who were coming from the gig economy, from various operating roles in gig marketplaces, and we were looking to make it easier to find manufacturing and logistics employees, and that was where we started. We set out to build a talent marketplace, and the business has really grown, our technology has really grown, and we're providing a software platform for hiring and for managing frontline workers, and also a marketplace for people to find employment opportunities.
So, Jason, what does a company do to, get a handful of workers? Half a dozen, a dozen, 1, 10?
Yeah. I mean, where we really specialize is finding workers where others can't and making those matches happen. So, our clients are able to use our software platform on whatever device they want, on mobile devices, on a desktop, and put in work orders. And they can use those work orders internally for internal talent marketing and internal talent management to move people around between different shifts and schedules and buildings and locations. And they can also access our third-party workforce and get professionals in, skilled, qualified professionals to join those shifts. We really give employers, the flexibility to work that way, internal resources, external, flex automatically between both. And that's been a big part of our success, which is really as easy as signing up to be an employer on our platform.
So I'm waiting to see when Lou's going to jump in with the salespeople he needs.
Yeah. We're having a problem right now. We've run a bunch of ads on a couple of platforms, and we're getting tire salesmen and we're getting bartenders, and we're not getting industrial oriented salespeople. And it's gotten really poor.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's, the problem we set out to solve, and, employers all over the country have been struggling for a while, even before the pandemic, with finding qualified resources. I think the broader trend is really, it's kind of two things. One is the sort of national mobility of resources. A lot of professions, I think, we're seeing a lot of the very manual entry-level work is becoming sparser because people are automating more of that away. And so you get a lot more of these skilled, semi-skilled, skilled roles. And if they pay enough and, companies are in positions, really, we're flying people around. And I think that's just going to be more of the trend. We're going to see a lot of these roles with a couple years of experience, where if you want, you can spend 10, 15 years in different markets, flying around, working in parts of the country that you might not have seen before. I think there's a broader trend there. I think there's another broader trend, which is just the consumerization of HR software. Most people wouldn't, expect traditional HR to have anything to do with this, creating kind of national roles and national mobility in the way we do with modern software platforms. So we're building into that future, really, where people really are going to be able to jump on a plane and work in a manufacturing role, in a skilled manufacturing role, wherever they want.
So when you are dealing with a client who's looking for people, are you dealing with small, medium size, large? I don't know how many large you have in Minnesota, especially Adina. The point is, who are you dealing with? What kind of companies have the greatest problem?
100%. So, I think short answer is we deal with companies of all sizes. I'd say, the biggest problems are in bigger employers. We see the largest gaps on enterprises, and part of what we've been doing throughout the pandemic and now in this phase after the pandemic is helping plants get back up to full capacity. We set out really to be more the software to run your manufacturing teams, your frontline teams, and the service is really as an additional benefit. And now we're sort of seeing, a lot of our employer clients are just they're stretched thin. They need teams, and bigger plants have bigger problems. They might be 200 people behind, 150 people behind. Not that smaller plants don't have them. It's relatively smaller numbers. 3 people here, 5 people there can really make the difference with a smaller company. So it's a little bit of everything. I mean, everybody, if it's your plant and it's your 5 guys that are critical, it's a huge problem for you. So we try to help people wherever we can, employers wherever we can, where they're having those kinds of gaps.
Are you finding that some of your clients are beginning to lean towards robotics?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think there's a broader trend. Some of what we've been seeing, I mean, it was happening before the pandemic, but now since the pandemic is really acute, right? We have we basically have smaller cohorts of entry-level folks. Like, there are just fewer people entering the workforce out of high school than there were in previous decades. It's just a demographic trend that we have. And then on top of that, with the pandemic in particular, we saw a real drop in workforce participation. So the end of the day, there's just a lot fewer entry-level folks for packet boxes, putting things onto lines and whatnot. A lot of those kind of line attendant roles and other entry-level production roles have been really, really challenging. And I think, there was already a real push to automate those roles. That's really, we've seen an acceleration. Putting a robot in to replace 20 unskilled roles is a really common thing. The silver lining is, right, you need 3 guys to run that robot. Once a month are going to fly in a technician to do preventive maintenance on that robot or repair. It creates other kinds of opportunities in the workforce. And I think the good news for the workforce, at least from the worker perspective, is there are enough people to go around on any of that. There are enough unskilled people to go around, there are enough skilled people to go around. It's really a seller's market, and has every sign of continuing to be a seller's market. As far as workers are concerned.
I saw something interesting on the internet yesterday, day before yesterday. A company, Boston Dynamics. I don't know if you know who they are.
Sure.
Boston Dynamics, they're a great robotic company, and they've done a lot of videos with their robots doing all kinds of weird stuff.
It's uncanny, isn't it?
Uncanny. And the last one that I saw yesterday was that there was one workman on top of a rig, and he left his tool bag at the bottom. And
right.
He called his robotic friend and said, "I left my bag at the bottom." And he picks up the bag, and he made a platform and to get all the way to the top. And he's doing flips, and he's doing jump overs and so on and so forth, and to get this one worker who needed his bag. and then he did flips and flops to get off the top of it. It's absolutely incredible. I don't believe for a minute that this is real. And I'm only kidding, Boston Dynamics, because you built such an incredible robotic methodology that it's really insane.
Yeah.
But those types of robotics really is quite helpful.
Yeah. The future is already here on a lot of robotics, that's for sure. I think it's just a matter of kind of the ROI and whether or not a plant can afford robotics on a given line. And I think part of what we've been seeing, there's an acceleration of a lot of this sort of packaging and some of the more kind of traditional robotics for these replacing the unskilled guys. But I think if our advice to workers all the time, and part of the way we've set up our company and what we offer our workers are really great ways to level up, training, new opportunities to get on the job skills, so they can get into those higher level roles. We see kind of the entry level unskilled roles as the first rung on the ladder. You really don't want to be there for very long. Most plants don't want it either. Who wants to run a manual process with 300 guys, making minimum wage or making barely above minimum wage? It's much better for everybody involved if those could be turned into skilled roles. And like I said, part of the mission of our company is to help people level up, and even if they start there, to quickly get to higher skill levels and higher pay and standard of living.
So when you're dealing with a client, and are you helping them bring in intellectually skilled people to fill jobs, or people that can be trained to do specific jobs? Is that
for sure. We we start with, we have entry-level roles that are pure straight out of high school, folks with GEDs. Some roles we even relax, depending on some of the seasonality and needs locally. We might even relax the high school requirement if we're talking an unskilled basic labor role. The bulk of our positions are skilled technical, some kind of technical background, and or an engineering degree. Increasingly, we've got some of the higher level roles, masters of engineering, masters of nursing, some of those kinds of roles. So kind of everything in between. But, if I were, and we often do as our team's working with our workforce, we really are trying to help folks make some of those career decisions, and the platform is doing more of that automatically. It's kind of giving a better view into what possibilities are out there. And I think, having kind of grown up, in a very bootstrapped way myself, I think a lot of folks, when you're starting out, you lack, if you're working locally in a local manufacturing job, you might not have visibility into all the opportunities to advance yourself and advance your skills that are out there. So part of what we really try to do for our folks.
While we're at it, why don't we have you give us your contact information for our audience who would like to further speak with you about your services? And
sure, I'd be happy to, Lou. My email address is Jason, JSON, at shift1.net. It's SHIFTONE.net. That's the easiest way to reach me.
Great.
Jason, I'm just wondering, where do you find the people that the manufacturers are having such a hard time finding?
Yeah, we have a lot of experience finding people. I think us early team members came from, as I had mentioned, the gig economy, and kind of what happens in the gig economy, the way we built our companies was you would enter a city, you'd have to go find 5,000 drivers a week to get enough of a service stood up. So in that, that sort of time period, we all got to know a lot of the best playbooks in the world, write a lot of the best playbooks in the world for pulling talent out of a local market. We have a couple of things that we do differently. Like some of that is, and it's a combination, you know, I would say it's sort of a rich cocktail of, you know, online and offline playbooks that we run. We try to dominate everything from local search to local advertising, online advertising. We do a lot of community outreach, you know, working with different community groups that might have pockets of workers, pockets of folks that are looking for better pay and better opportunities. So that's part of the core of what we do. Generally, we're setting things up too so that we're within a local market. We try to be the employer of choice. We have extremely high ratings. And that just pays a lot of benefits throughout. We sort of get a lot of additional traffic so that when people are out looking for jobs, if they're proactively looking for a job, they're going to find us and they're going to see that we're one of the best companies to work for locally. I think some of the other stuff, you know, that, you know, maybe is a little bit different or a different approach from really coming from the massive online place is we tend to have, because we get so many candidates, we're able to do a lot of curation. And we've all been through this experience as an employer. If you only have 1 or 2 applicants for a job, you're gonna get one of those 2 people, hopefully, depending on the market. But if you have 1,700 applicants for a job and you pick the best 2 or 3, you're gonna have a tremendous people. It's just a numbers game, you know, in terms of sort of the amount of applicants and the sort of quality of the fit that you're going to be able to make if you've got a really deep pool to choose from. So in general, we try to just have tons and tons and tons of applicants to work with, and it's great for everybody. We can make really good hiring decisions that way and really good assignments if we're slotting somebody in to go work somewhere for a couple months.
And is that predominantly what you do, is that they're going into work for a couple of months, not a couple of years or for a career?
Well, you know, it depends really on the situation. So the vast majority of our workforce is, you know, it's sort of the 3-month to 12-month kind of time frame. And, you know, folks are moving. I think one of the huge benefits, again, for workers and professionals on our platform is that employment profile, that employment history is all verified. It's all qualified. It's all verified. And so we're able to put them into roles that, you know, just with a rough resume, it wouldn't have kind of the same effect. And they're able to sort of get that long-term career and employment history with us. But there's a fair amount of movement, and I think it really helps to smooth out, you know, a lot of the seasonality and fluctuation that we're seeing in manufacturing and some other sectors. That's the typical sort of setup. We do permanent placement, and there are, you know, a ton of those opportunities, which is a little bit more, you know, more of a long-term HR relationship where we're, you know, just providing occasional permanent employees as part of our services. But again, we started out as HR software, and really, you know, that's the cornerstone, is people are really kind of using our software internally for managing their teams, for timekeeping and payroll, for managing productivity on different lines. We're really sort of that frontline workforce management, and the services business of providing employees has really become, it's a secondary business that has been growing more and more in importance as, you know, the economy's been so strapped for workers.
So you try to have people come to you with job skills, not like, for example, Representative Santos, for example. You have people that really have credentials for what they've done in the past.
Yeah, exactly. For us, it's all about the skill ladder and what have you done in the past, and, you know, can we apply this? Do we see the need out in our client base? it's really about that, helping people to come with those skills, but then add to those skills on the platform.
Well, that's great, Jason. We appreciate you taking the time to join us. So whether you're in Hornell, New York, a great manufacturing town, or you're in Denver, Colorado, or someplace else where there are manufacturers, check out shift1.net. Jason Radisson has been our guest, and thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure to be on.
Thank you much. Appreciate it. And anytime you have anything new coming up or new events or new methodologies, let us know and we'll be happy to have you on again.
Will do. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Thanks everyone for being on this episode with us of Manufacturing Talk Radio. We'll be back with you soon.